Okay, we are in the Pachad Yitzchok, Maamar Alef. Okay, we were discussing the whole issue of dat manifesting particularly on Shabbos and producing the illumination of the countenance of somebody's face, and we built these ideas to address the initial question that we kicked off in the Maamar, and that was that according to halacha, you don't need the actual panim chadashot, a new face of an actual person on Shabbos to celebrate with a bride and groom during the first 7 days in order to have Sheva Brachot, because the Shabbat suffices to provide the dimension of panim chadashot. So, it is a minhag, yes.
It's not a halakha, it's a custom.
No, it's a minhag halacha. There's two minhagim. There's a minhag and a minhag halacha. This is halachically binding. Yeah, that's what they call. We use, unfortunately, in today's day, it's a big confusion. We use the word minhag for both those things, but they're separate categories. Minhag could mean any custom, like a person has a custom, like putting on a gartel. A gartel, that's a personal custom. There was initially halacha, which is satisfied now, for example, with the elastic of one's trousers. So there's no halachic, or a belt, meaning there are halachot, that's true. But a custom, actually here, we're saying that the Sheva Brachot, which we actually learn from Rivka and, from Rachel and Leah, from last week's Parsha, and Lavan, right, the Sheva Brachot, right. And we actually learn a lot of things from him about also the blessing that the bride receives before the chuppah by her father or father-in-law.
That was from Rivka.
Is what Besuel gives love. Va'ati le'alfei revava. Yeah. So there's a blessing that the bride is blessed with by the badekin, which is also, the badekin is from Lavan, and the blessing is from Betuel. It's very fascinating. So anyway, so here we're saying that the Sheva Brachot, normally there are halachot about which Sheva Brachot you can say and under what circumstances you can say them during the 7 days of Mishteh following the chuppah. And the basic requirement is that every day there should be, in order to celebrate with a full set of Sheva Brachot, you need the presence of somebody that is celebrating this simcha for the first time, that has not been present in any of the previous iterations of the simcha. Or he couldn't make it, or you were in a different, meaning there's so many people that you can choose. I would have loved for if you had been there, and for whatever reason you couldn't make it. And this occasion, is worthy of us to say Sheva Brachot and mamish celebrate this new home. Okay, so Shabbos, for whatever reason, provides that presence, and we're exploring what that means in terms of and what that says about Shabbos. We're going to appreciate something new about Shabbos and understanding how this works. So now that we've discussed this whole issue of dat, we're going to bring it back now to address that issue. The Chozrim Anu Kan, and we are returning here, the Shabbos Shel Shivas Yemei Mishteh the Chatan V'Kala, to the Shabbos within the week of celebration of a Chatan and Kala, she'omrim ba Sheva Brachot, which the 7 blessings are recited during that time. Afal pi, even though she'ein kan panim chadashot, even in a case where there would not be an actual literal new fresh face present, mishum, because Shabbat atzma, Shabbos itself, nidonit, is considered ki panim chadashot, like a new face.
So you have a basula. No Shiva Ma'imemeshte for Almona.
That doesn't mean that Shabbos doesn't provide that. It's just that you're correct. It's not relevant over there because there's no Sheva Brachot. Right. But really we want to know why Shabbos has this power, why Shabbos is called a new face. Umekor ha'halacha, the source of this halacha, b'divrei Chazal, is in the words of our sages, Hu Masha Amru ala pasuk, Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbos. So Chazal didn't just, they make a statement that Panim Chadashot Ba'olakan, with Shabbos, a new face has presented itself here. What is that based on? It's a drasha on the words, Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat, a praise to the song of the day of Shabbos. What does one thing have to do with the other? Ulefi ma shelamadnu, and according to what we have learned, ad kan, until now, morgash hu inyan zeh be'omek. This idea is felt deeply. Harei lo matzinu, we have not found the panim chadashot yasu legorim shel riboy simcha milvad besimcha chatan v'kala. We don't see anywhere that the idea, this concept of a new face of panim chadashot, adds a particular simcha in any context other than specifically this sheva brachot. Okay? So what was it that the rabbis, just to put in context, the rabbis have this verse. It says, Mizmor shir liyom HaShabbat. Praise to the song of the day of Shabbos. From here, we see that a new face has come, and therefore, a chatan v'kala don't need anything more than Shabbos to have sheva brachot. So it's the rabbis are seeing this not just in the context, not just that verse in the context of a new face, but in a new face in the context of chatan v'kala, which is very limiting and very specific. V'ta'amo shel davar, and the reason for this thing, hu mipnei, it is because she'ikr simchat nisuin, what is the mainstay, the primary joy of this marriage? Hu mitzad hiyot hanisuin makom hatzmicha shel adam chadash. This marriage is the place, the source of a blossoming, of a sprouting forth of a new man. Together they're creating Adam Chadash. Simchat Nisuim, the joy of marriage, hi be'etzem simchat chidush Adam. It is really the joy, essentially, of the renewal of man, or humanity. Umipnei kach, rather human. Umipnei kach, and because of this, Adam Chadash, a new person, haba, who arrives, lihishtatef b'simchazo, to celebrate and partake of this celebration, mehaveh, he causes gorim liriboy simchazu. He adds to an additional element of this joy. Ad shemitchayvim machmato b'sheva brachot, to the degree that he actually obligates the sheva brachot. Okay, so what we're saying is that since the idea of the celebration of a marriage is a new constellation of human in the world, the celebration of a new humanity, right? So therefore, in the act of celebrating, the presence of every human that's there is kind of like an added dimension to the celebration. It's kind of like a hadgasha on what we're celebrating, and that's what allows us to make sheva brachot. Mm-hmm. So now, in the event when we don't have that, umamshichim anu atakav, and we continue with this line of thought, hala further, ve'omrim, and we say, ki shita zo, this approach, haposeket, Ki gam Shabbat mechayevet b'sheva brachot. This halachic approach that says that Shabbat too is what's enough to obligate sheva brachot. Lamda zeh, we learned this midiuk lashon chachamim, from the specific, precise precision of the language of our sages. Shediktaku, that they were precise, ve'amru, and they said panim chadashot, a new face. V'lo amru b'pshitut. They didn't say simply Adam Chadash. They didn't say, hey, because a new person, right? They said a new face. V'soveret hi shitazo. And therefore, this approach in halacha is thinking, ki diktuk lashon chachamim, that the precision of the language of the sages, zeh, this bahu lelamdenu, it's coming specifically to teach us, ki hitchachut hapanim shel adam, the renewal of the face of a person, nidonet hi ka'adam chadash, is a new person, right? When a person has a new face, it's a new person. So on Shabbos, everybody gets a new face, right? So it's like there's new people.
I see. So it's not the Shabbat itself.
Shabbat brings with it a new face. It's not Shabbat. It's not the face of the Shabbat Malkah, but it's the generating dat of Shabbat that creates. Everybody gets a new face. Right. So now it's a new celebration because the Shabbos counterparts of us, our superhero selves, have not been present yet for the celebration. And just the added dimension of Shabbos, which reveals that part of us, that in itself dictates, obligates a celebration. Okay? Because we all have shining faces.
Right.
You don't really know somebody until you've seen them on Shabbos.
Oh, no, I know lots of people.
Sorry?
I know lots of people that I see them during the week.
You will see them anew or truly on Shabbos. That's what we've been learning until now.
So you learn.
That's what the Pachad Yitzchok is teaching us. Okay. V'hem hem advarim shenechtvu ba'ot tet shel Maamar zeh, and it's the same issue that we discussed in a couple paragraphs earlier in Otet, Ki kishem sheleida hi hosefet adam b'klaliyut ha'olam. Just like birth is the addition. It's not just an added human in the world, but it's an addition to humanity, meaning the phenomenon of birth, right, is a whole dimension of renewal. It's the way that humanity in this world can experience some level of eternity, the perpetuation, right? It's an added dimension of the being of humanity in this world. Kishem sheleida, just like birth, hi hosefet adam. It is an addition. It adds to humanity b'klaliyut ha'olam, in the general world. Kimo kain, just so too. Leidat or chadash b'panav shel adam, the birth of a new light in the face of a person. He hosafat ha'adam sheba adam, but it is the addition of a man within the man. Ba olam katan haprati shelo, in the small microcosm within him. That he has, meaning there's an added dimension of man within man that manifests through the illumination of his dat through Shabbos. Ki chidush or b'panav shel adam, because the novelty, this new light on the face of a person, harehu todat tokfo shel koach hadat, it is a consequence of the strength, the power of the faculty of dat. Asher koach zeh, that this energy, hu hamiyuchad, or this force, hu hamiyuchad la'adam, that is what is special to humanity, mitoch shar kochotav shel ha'adam kulo, amongst all the other faculties that the person has. Ula'achar shelamadnu, and after we have learned, mitoch lashon chachamim, from the words of our sages, ki hosafat ha'adam shebe adam, that the additional dimension of the man within a person, bitocho shel adam, within him, ki chidush adam hi nidonet, it is the revelation of that dimension is like a renewal of the person himself. Harei yotzeh mizeh b'derech memela, it comes out from this, ki hashabat mechayevet hi b'sheva brachot, that Shabbat itself, a situation, a circumstance of Shabbat, demands, obligates Sheva Brachot. Halo shoresh birchata shel Shabbat, the root of the blessing of Shabbos, hi hitchadshut me'or panav shel adam, it is the renewal of the illumination of the face of a person. Barcho b'ma'or panim, the sages say, God bless Shabbat with the illumination of faces. V'hitchadshut zo, and this renewal, hi mipnei shehashvita bishar ha'ma'amarot maf'ilahi et ma'amar na'asa adam bioter. And it happens because this renewal, this added dimension of dat that comes forth, it is because of the cessation of all the other utterances within the 6 days of creation that are active, that seed or secede in the face of the revelation of Na'aseh Adam, the Ma'amar, let us make man, which is the introduction of Dat, as we spoke about within the days of the week. And that's the Shvita Shabbat, right? We talked, that's the Ikar and the Tafel, etc., right? V'nimtza, and it comes out of this, the Ikar Birkat Shabbat, that the essential blessing of Shabbos, hu dafka bezeh, specifically it is this, sheyom HaShabbat hu hazman hamiyuchad, that Shabbos, the day of Shabbos, is the special time that is set aside, v'hamukdash, and is dedicated, lohosafat mahut adam, to the addition of the essence of man.
So you're saying that really the expression of that is...
It's man, it's the essence of what man is. That's Na'aseh Adam. So even Adam himself is only truly himself with the revelation of the dimension of Shabbos, which allows the Dat to strike through the face and reveal the pnimiyut, which otherwise is obfuscated by the chitzoniyut of the Sheshet Yimei HaMaaseh and the other utterances.
And so the Shabbat sustains the world, and it's the Dat within the man
that's truly what
gives
man is.
Shabbat, and therefore you need... It's not so strange to say that the experience of Shabbat is in the countenance of a man's face.
Right, meaning it is the highest dimension of the Bria which is revealed on Shabbat, and in that highest level, in terms of the utterances, it is Na'aseh Adam, and in terms of creation, it's Adam. So the highest place that the Shabbat would be felt is in the highest revelation of Adam on Shabbat, which is the Dat.
Mm-hmm. Very nice, very nice. It confirms the importance of Adam as a key player in
for the world to
completing the circuit.
Right, right. Could you really have Shabbat without Hashem sharing it with creation? Right. Okay. Okay, but what does that have anything to do with Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbos? Let's see. V'hosefet mahut adam zo mashmuuta kfula. The additional, the essential human that's being revealed here in this additional way on Shabbos, its implications are twofold. Hosefes or hosafas hamiyuchad la'adam, it's an addition to that which is special to man or special to humanity, bitoch klaliyut adam atzmo, meaning a separate aspect from within the general man himself, meaning we're singling out here dat amongst all the other faculties. And it's not just the addition of one particular faculty, but v'hosafat adam b'klaliyut ha'olam. It's also, that's biprat, but the effect of the prat, the detail, is also for this total, meaning on a higher dimension, there's a higher quality of man that's being present now, right? So on the small scale, dat is being revealed even more because of Shabbat, but also that effectively, all of humanity, it becomes more of itself because through that on Shabbat. So it's like a double whammy, as they say. Umipnei kach, and because of this, chidush kidushata shel Shabbat, the renewal or this newness of the sanctity of Shabbos, ki chidush adam hinidonit. It is just like the renewal or the new level that's introduced of humanity itself, meaning. Right, that the two are intertwined. That Shabbos comes in.
The two.
Okay, so there's on two levels. There's an additional experience added to something that existed before on Shabbos in regards to a human. In regards to a human, there are two aspects that through the Shabbos they get an addition. One is on the detailed level, what their dat is not the regular dat that it was during the week. Their dat becomes super dat. Right? And it becomes revealed as dat itself, what it really meant to be on Shabbos. And that results even on a higher level, that through that, man then is able to project, because dat is the essence of what a man is. It's not just on the level of dat, but it's on the level of all of humanity. Now they become superhuman. It's revealing what man is really meant to be.
Isn't it the same thing? Isn't that the same thing?
Well, the difference is that Nase Adam, which when we're talking about that, we're talking about Nase Adam, it's appear in a group. And meaning it's singling itself out amongst its peers, among the other utterances.
Right.
That's on that level. It's not just that there's extra dot happening that we can focus on that itself. There's also all of humanity. That's the big upgrade that's happening too through that.
I see.
Okay, so we're focusing on the detail and on the right. It's double. Okay. Okay. So now. Okay. So. Sorry. 1 second. So it's twofold. And because of this, chidush kidushata shel Shabbat, kechidush adam hinidonet, the introduction of the sanctity of Shabbos, when that occurs, it is like it's just like a new person. There's new Adam being introduced in the world. That's a direct result of introducing a new aspect to humanity. And therefore, it obligates the 7 blessings, shel simcha chatan v'kala, for the celebration of the joy of a bride and groom. And now through this we have arrived lahamadat chachamim et bechinat hapanim hachadoshot shel Shabbat al pasuk mizmor shel Yom HaShabbos. Now we have to address specifically the language of the chachamim, how they linked this new face to the verse that said a praise to the song of the day of Shabbos. Why? How did the Chachamim know that Panim Chadashot is a result? Why should it be a result of that verse? What is the reality of that verse that we learn out? That the Chachamim understood, this is Panim Chadashot, a new face. Hamada zo binuyahi al inyano shel pasuk zeh, that the standing of this, meaning this idea is built on a construct that's based on this verse. Okay, you have to understand this verse through the blessing of Kriyat Shema that we say on Shabbos in the prayers to understand why Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbos would teach the rabbis that Shabbos results in Panim Chadashot, in a new face. Dehainu, and this is Sha'aributa Shel Pasuk Zo Milamdenu Hi Ki Yom HaShvi Atzmo Mishabeach Ve'omer B'nigud L'Shar HaYamim She'ein Hem Atzmam Mishabchim Ve'omrim. Okay, so the verse, it's like this. The chapter in Tehillim, which is the song for Shabbos, has it right. It has an introduction. It says Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbos. Right. This is the praise of the song of the day of Shabbos. And did we note how the other days of the week they have a chapter of Tehillim, but it's not self-aware. Right. They don't declare. Right. Right. And we said that Shabbos itself, right. With Shabbos, there's a self-awareness. Right. So, okay. So over here. In the when we daven on Shabbos, the Bircha Kriyat Shema we say there's a paragraph where we say Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbos, right? It says that Mishabeach Ve'omer. It comes and it gives praise. Do we have a siddur here?
Yeah.
No, Bav Yomer Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbos. Here, let me just get it right. Okay. Lo'el asher shavas mikol ha'ma'asim uvayom hashvi nis'ala v'yashav al kisei kevodo. To God who rested from all the works, the deeds, and on the seventh day he elevated and he sat upon the throne of his glory. Tiferet ata liyom hamnucha, a splendor was adorned to the day of rest. Oneg kara liyom haShabbat, he called the day of rest a oneg, delight. Zeh shir shevach shel yom hashvi. This is the song of praise to the day, to the seventh day, Shebo, that upon it, Shavas El Mikol Melachto, that God rested from all his works. V'yom hashvi, and the seventh day, Mishabeach, it praises. Ve'omer, and it says, Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbos, a praise to the song of the day of Shabbos. So once again, it says, the seventh day comes and gives praise and says, Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbos.
Although it's not the Shabbat, it's Adam who said that. I mean, the Shabbat comes and gives praise.
Because it's the added dimension of Dat on Shabbos that results in one being able to give the praise. That's why it's a double lashon, because it's just like we said, Shabbos is the self-awareness. Mm-hmm. Just like it's different than all the other chapters of the songs of the days of the week, that it has an introduction itself that's saying what it is, meaning the innerness is revealed. So also the experience of the added das, meaning it's like it's saying about itself. That's what we're saying when we say it's saying about itself. Mm-hmm. Meaning it's the addition that it brings that allows that awareness to be. Let's see what he says inside. Okay. Okay. So Dehainu, that the verse that says Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbos, Sheharibusa asher pasuk zeh melamdenu, the addition, the extra superfluousness, seemingly, of this pasuk is coming to teach us ki yom hashvi, the seventh day, atzmo itself mishabech. It itself is giving praise. Ve'omer, and it says, just like the prayers say, b'nigud l'shar hayamim, as opposed to the rest of the days, she'ein heim atzmo mishabchim ve'omrim, they themselves do not give praise and say. Like we said previously. Right. All this is because shekoch gilui hashira, the revelation, this extra power of a revelation of shira, of song, miyuchad hu ach la'adam. It is unique to man. Ve'alkein, and therefore sheyach hu, only he, humanity, is relevant. Lohosafat mahut adam anoter b'Shabbat, meaning the song is a direct result of the additional dimension of man which is created on Shabbos. Okay, vizehu, meaning the added consciousness of man comes together with a shira. Vizehu, and this is what shehamidu chachamim, that the sages stood, they placed this idea upon bechinat hapanim hachadashot, this idea of new face, shel Shabbat, dafka ala katuv hazeh, sheyom hashvi, on the verse itself that says that the seventh day be'atzmo itself, mishabeach, it gives praise, ve'omer, and says, mizmor shir liyom haShabbos, praise to the day of, the song of the day of Shabbos. I'm going to restate that. We're saying that since the way we can understand this introductory pasuk in that chapter of Tehillim, that the day of Shabbos is capable of saying it to in itself, in its own chapter it says that it is the song of Shabbos, and that is the addition of dat. That's the element of dat, so that dat manifests. So even Shabbos itself, there's a revelation of a pnimiut, so it could say about itself. Right? It's revealed within that chapter, the pnimiut of it. That's a function of dat. That dat manifests in a person on humanity as a whole, and on it shows the power of dat, which is inherently specific, special to man, but also on the individual level, everybody therefore must experience a panim chadashot, because they're existing in this higher level of dat.
But you're suggesting that independent of man, Shabbat could have sung the praise Mizmor Shel Yom Shabbat?
No, because you can't have dat without man.
Right.
So we're saying this extra element of dat, where even Shabbos itself is self-aware, that can't come without a concurrent higher level of dat in man himself.
You mean the dat in man?
Dat is
dat to Shabbat.
Oh well, we talked about this before. Okay, this is okay. You have to understand. We're talking. There's big dat and little dat. Okay, on the sixth day of creation, God didn't just make a little dat, which was invested in humanity. But when he said Naaseh Adam, which ultimately was supposed to be manifest specifically in a human being, it was the introduction of dat in the world. What the Mikubalim would call the vessel of dat, which is a manifestation, projection of God in one way, which is a kli to receive godliness in another way. So, whether you want to call it Yesod, Yom Shishi, or you want to call it, Yesod is really dat, which is not a sphere. Dat is, I don't want to get too Kabbalistic here, but essentially dat is, we can call for all practical purposes Yesod here. The ability to be, dat is the ability to connect. We say all the time that it's to have intimate experience where you're connecting with something outside of you, a reality independent of you that directly informs your sense of self. You're connecting. It's Vayeda Adam Echava Yishto, right? It's about knowledge, right, is what becomes who you are. It's integrated into who you are, into your being. It's not something external from you, like in the Western sense of like facts and information, right? Okay, so the ability to connect, that God and His creation can connect, right? Or, going back to the masculine and feminine that we're talking about with Alshech HaKadosh, that is called dat, right? That's what allows for, ultimately, Shabbos is malchut, okay? So now, there's a big dat and a little dat. The small dat, think of the dat that is manifest in man himself on the microcosm, is small dat. But in that, there was introduction of all of dat. I mean, the whole idea that you can even relate that God, we can talk about God's knowledge, or knowledge at all, the whole concept of knowledge is introduced in that way, not just in terms of man, but in terms of the world. The world now has this concept of knowledge is now a dimension that exists in the world. Now, since that was invested concurrently with the creation of man, man is also, in the microcosm, he manifests on the same level. Whatever dat is more manifest in the world on Shabbos, he also experiences it personally because it's linked, it's a function of him. Okay, so we're talking, remember, it's dat two ways. To say that God has knowledge of something you could only really say after the sixth day. I mean, that's big dat. Okay? I mean, God put dat in the world. Dat is not just something that's, but the highest dat that's expressed in this world is seen I know it sounds, I don't know if am I communicating?
But I'm just trying
So dat is experienced on all levels with the dimension of Shabbos. There's an elevation of dat in the world. So that can even be manifest in that everything expresses itself also with a description of what it is. Its pnimiut is revealed, as if it is self-aware. Meaning the presence of Shabbos itself Shabbos itself can talk about itself in Pnimius in a way that the rest of the weeks can't, because everything that's happening on Shabbos is with more dot.
But only because Adam has more dot, you're saying? Because
no, they come concurrently. They're both manifestations of the same thing.
So
you can't have one without the other.
So would it be correct? Oh, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah,
would
that's what he says, that Shira is a function of man, meaning you can't.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're suggesting, I'm struggling with this idea that world consciousness and Shabbat and all the other creations also elevate in Dat on Shabbat.
Yeah. There's more of an ability for Dat to be manifest in the world, wherever, meaning, here.
How does that affect an animal, for example? Does
Okay, one second. Ma rabu ma'asecha Hashem, ma'od amku machshavotecha. One second. Mizmor Shlim HaShabbos. Tov Lodos LaHashem Zam L'Shimcha Elyon L'Hagi B'Boker Chastecha Ve'emunoscha B'Leilos. Ma'od amku machshavotecha. How deep are your actions? How deep are your workings? On Shabbos, there's of course the human experiences it, but there's an added dimension of, you go through the week and you don't know what you're building, you don't know what God's doing. But on Shabbos, there's an element that you can appreciate how deep the workings of God are. That even if you don't see what they are, you know that there's something deep. There's a revelation of Pnimiut. Even if you don't know what that is, you're living within the Pnimiut. That means that every aspect of creation has a higher, there's a Pnimiut that's revealed on all those levels. So everything is more itself.
Are we
so on whatever level that it has a role, that it functions, that it's in God's plan and in God's work, it has a higher presence. And have you ever seen Perek Shira? Do you know what Perek Shira is? Yeah. What is that? Do the stones give praise? So it's a very deep idea. But in a way, all the elements of creation indeed do sing praise when they're integrated in the dat of Adam, that Adam can appreciate their role in existence. Then they too, his dat, there's an elevated dat, and they themselves, they say what they are. Because everything is created just to speak the glory of God. So their being, we don't mean literally that it opens up eyes that weren't there before and starts singing Broadway. It's the meaning of the thing, the spiritual impact of its place in existence, and the fact that every creation is a noble servant of God, right? It becomes more manifest, and there's like a splendor, and you can appreciate how everything, meaning that God's, right?
Let me just ask you a question. You've got a stone in front of you, right? And you've got a man, and the man is looking at the stone. And on Shabbat, he realizes this is just not a normal stone; it's a diamond.
When he doesn't look at it, does the stone know what it is? Does it know it's a diamond? Absolutely, it does. It does.
The stone knows what it is?
It knows that it's a diamond and not a sapphire. Absolutely. It knows that it's this and not that. Absolutely. It knows whatever it is on the level that it needs to know it to serve its function. Think of everything, even inanimate objects, as angels.
Right.
Okay? So essentially, its presence speaks of something. And it is resentful when you use it certain ways, and not others.
Right. So then Shabbat comes and your dat of that object increases, but nothing changes on that object?
Let's say during the week, you didn't see how that element, God put it in existence, and he has a plan for it. You just didn't register. Did it exist?
Yes.
It still existed. It had a mission. It was God invested in creation, whether you were aware or not.
You just didn't see it.
Right. But let's say now all of a sudden you see it on Shabbos.
Right.
Now, not only are you aware of it, and therefore the whole plan is, there's an elevated revelation of something, it too is like so happy you see it, because now it has even a higher meaning.
But that's only as a function of you seeing it.
Right, but
nothing's
it's not,
changed
but
from the
I'm saying in a way, yeah, it did. It did. It did. Whatever level of dat, however it affects, it's not just in your eyes, but everything, it's within everything that like comes up and out and is manifest. But yeah, it wouldn't be possible if there wasn't an introduction of dat in the world, and that was localized and invested within you. Yeah. Meaning, on Shabbos, everything's Shabbostic. Meaning the way the Holy Visioner would say it, do you see the sky of the 6 days of the week? It's making way for the sky of Shabbos. Do you see the clouds of the 6 days of the week? They're making way for the clouds of Shabbos. That's how he used to say. He would look at, meaning there's the dimension of Shabbos that every single prod of existence puts on, so to speak, its Shabbos clothes.
Okay, so then my next question would be like this: when Adam doesn't keep Shabbat, does the elevation of the world still go up on Shabbat or not?
That's beautiful. Okay. So yes and no. And I'll explain to you exactly what I mean. The Kedusha of Shabbat is independent of humanity.
Right.
Right? HaMekadesh HaShabbat. Right? But the Zmanim, Mekadesh Yisrael v'Azmanim, they're a function of our sanctity and what God gave us to invest in Zman, which is a function of HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem. Right? Shabbos waited for thousands of years before there was a partner to join God in keeping it. But it existed beforehand from the first week. And yet, what is the function of Shabbos if it's not a covenant for somebody to keep? It was just waiting. So it automatically happens whether you accept it or not. Shabbos comes in, it's a reality. However, the world cannot reap the benefits of Shabbat, and all of creation doesn't achieve its purpose if you don't pick up the ball and celebrate it with it. So yeah, Shabbos is a reality that could only happen because God invested it in independent of what humanity does. But the import of Shabbos, in order to be manifest and all that you need to be shovet in order to manifest that added level of dat. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess we'll continue next time. Shavua tov me'od.